Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Throughtroversy. So, do you remember how I said in the 1-2 Switch preview that I wanted to be an ultra hipster and not talk about Breath of the Wild? I lied. Really threw you guys for a loop there. Woo! But no, for real though. I played through Breath of the Wild, and honestly, I adored every second of it, but what do I talk about? A video of my opinions on the game as a whole is probably so late that not a single one of you actually care. It was good, go play it! But there were a lot of things I noticed that were especially interesting to me. For example, the puzzles and how you could solve them in many different ways, but I won't beat around the bush anymore. You read the friggin' title of this video, you know what it's gonna be about. It's about Amnesia stories and how Breath of the Wild did it right. Well, at least sort of. There are going to be a few minor story spoilers for Breath of the Wild. Nothing major, but I will focus on the Zoras. If you played that part, you're good, but consider this your spoiler warning. So, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Link wakes up from a deep slumber and has amnesia. That's pretty damn cliche, all things considered. It's used in so many stories, both in gaming and outside. Final Fantasy uses it all the time, and they usually end up kind of the same. Nobody cares about you for the majority of the game, but at some point there's a sudden huge exposition dump, and you turn out to be the brother or son or whatever to the bad guy in a huge plot twist. Hell, in one of the Final Fantasy games, your memories aren't even yours, making it, I guess, technically an amnesia story, right? Well, whatever. I took a year of psychology at the university, and obviously that makes me qualified to diagnose Link. Yes, let's see here. Had a traumatic event happen. Yes, sustained a lot of injuries. Can't remember a thing that happened before he woke up. It seems that he can create new memories without issue, but everything before he woke up is gone. Yep. This seems like classic retrograde amnesia. Okay, for those of you who didn't get it, it's a type of amnesia that makes you forget everything before an event. Sometimes these memories come back, sometimes they don't. So what makes this interesting? I mean, retrograde amnesia isn't exactly something new in storytelling, eh? Well, I think the interesting part is that there isn't anything interesting about it. Wait, no, hear me out here. What I like is the fact that you're told what the whole shtick is. You're the hero of old, you almost died, you lost your memory, now go save Zelda. That's pretty much it. You're not thrown twists after twists like an M. Shamalama Ding Dong movie. What you see is what you get, and because of that, you're left with more time to flesh out the characters. These character development segments happen in memory flashbacks where Link sees a spot, and then he regains part of his memory. For the record, this is the developers taking a bit of artistic freedom. This reminder effect does not actually have any scientific bearing on how to treat retrograde amnesia, but I mean, that's alright. I can suspend my disbelief that much, no worries. What makes the story structure work for me is the fact that you know what's going on. Details will be filled in after a while, sure, but you pretty much know what you have to do and why. What makes this different from other games is that you're not a nobody to all these people. Everyone has heard about Link in one way or another, and that is actually incredibly refreshing. Most of the people who remember you have died off in the 100 years that you've been asleep. But then you have the Zoras. They live longer than 100 years, and as of such, more or less everybody there remembers you. You can talk with them, and they will let you know about how you used to be. It's a really interesting dynamic that I really appreciate. This instance made me feel like the game really had evolved from what Zelda used to be. What I mean by this is that in a lot of Zelda games, you can talk to NPCs, but they don't really talk with you. They talk at you. There's no interaction, really. In Ocarina of Time, people go, "Hey, you remind me of this green-clad kid from long ago," but you never interact with them and say, "I am." You do in this game. In this game, you can actually tell people that you are the dude from Legend. And in many cases, people will realize this on their own when you carry the Master Sword. But back to the Zoras. When you get to the domain, the first thing that happens is that you're greeted by a guy going all like, "Hey, you remind me of a dude I once met." Followed by a raving, "Oh shit, you actually are! We used to play together when we were kids!" This guy's name is Rivan, and I actually remember that. Do you know why I remember that? Because I felt really bad that I couldn't remember him. It was kinda like I had amnesia myself, and I felt guilty seeing his disappointed face that I couldn't remember him. Because of that, I made it a point to remember him and his name, and I suppose his daughter that stands right next to him. The other Zoras are like this too. The lady who helps run the inn calls you Linny. People know you, for better or for worse. See, the older Zoras who were grown-ups 100 years ago despise you, and that is really something. People are blaming you for the death of Mipha, the Zora champion 100 years ago. You don't remember what happened, obviously, but you've been told that back then, pretty much everything went to hell, and everyone died. It seems everyone is blaming you because you were supposed to protect her. Turns out all this is true, but for a while you walk around aimlessly and wonder why everybody hates you so much. What did you do? I think this makes for very powerful storytelling, at least from a Zelda game. Again, there aren't really any mysteries or twists here. Mipha died, you lived, and you don't even remember her. I feel the Zoras who remember Mipha are angry that you caused her to die, but it feels like the worst thing to them is that you don't even remember. They all idolized her and they feel it's your fault, and when they want to chew you out for it, you don't even remember. It feels pretty heavy, all things considered, and I think that's great for a Zelda game. It's like the Amnesia angle isn't there to pull a huge twist later down the line, but more to tell the story of Link and how he deals with that amnesia. And again, I think that is great, especially for a Zelda game. Nintendo seems to have a policy of keeping story out of their games and focus more on gameplay, but I would personally love to see Nintendo tell more of a story. I find this to be a tremendous first step, even more so when you actually remember who Mipha is. She was a love interest to Link, much more so than how Ruto was Link's fiancé in Ocarina of Time. Here, Mipha actually seems to have an actual relationship with Link instead of just throwing you a spiritual stone and say we're betrothed without you being able to say anything against it. Here, it happened in the past. They leave the player up to interpret it in the way the player wants to, and I feel that's great. It almost feels a bit Dark Soulsian in its approach to lore, although it isn't quite as deep. In fact, it helps make sense as to why a random-ass Zora armor would fit you in this game. In Twilight Princess, you just find an armor that just happens to be your size, and in this game, it's a plot point that your armor fits. And once that plot point has been realized, it helps change the tone of a lot of the older Zoras. These are the kind of changes that I really appreciate when it comes to story structure. And this is what makes me feel so happy to see Nintendo take this route. After you help the Zora, and you learn what happened in the past and all that, it's also really nice to see that some of them forgive you, yet some feel like they've not quite forgiven you completely. And I think that's also pretty realistic. I appreciate that. All in all, I think the Zora part really plays to the strength of this game. There's just a little bit of mystery, but there aren't any crazy wacky twists that come many hours later. You're well known throughout the land of Hyrule, and you have a story. This is so refreshing, having dealt with so many games to tell Amnesia stories without really doing anything except give the same old cliches. In fact, some games never even give you that. Fallout New Vegas, for instance, never gives you any backstory from your amnesiac episode in the beginning. But I digress. Zelda, you may yet have a bit to go before you become amazing through and through with story, but this is a fantastic first step. And you did Amnesia storytelling right, at least for the most part. Keep it up and I'll be extremely happy. Speaking of which, you're saying there's gonna be more story coming out for the final DLC planned for the game. You know what'd be tight? If we got to go back and play through everything that happened 100 years ago. See what happened, see how people died, see how everything affected you. Am I the only one who thinks that'd be tight? Nah, that'd be tight. Make it happen, Nintendo. Thank you very much for watching. So long as just one person likes what I do, it's all worth it. And I thought I'd spend this moment to say something pretty neat. We just received a bit of fan art, and that warms my heart like you wouldn't believe. Thank you very much, Mariodoc. If you want to send me or Foxburrito fan art, just hit me up with a tweet at Throughtroversy. Oh, and one last thing. I did a collaboration video with Game Taco on the 5 best areas in the Monster Hunter games. It's a really good video. I recommend you check it out. In any case, see you next episode. You guys rock. Holla brah.